Hello, hello, hello. Hi, guys. Okay, let's wait. People to join in. Okay. Hi, guys. So my name is Javier Grant. I'm a professional poker player from Costa Rica. I'm also a coach for standard backing. I'm a data analysis specialist. So my main work with the standard backing is to help players to improve their metrics, to see how they are playing. Yeah, using data, we're trying to develop strategies based on the field they're playing and everything. So today we're going to start the first of four classes in this volume challenge. One of the main reasons why a lot of players in standard backing are rejected is because lack of volume. So in this era, poker is a little bit harder than before. So choosing good sites and choosing good volume and putting the volume are going to be one of the main key factors for success. So if you play a lot of tournaments, it's pretty key to choose good tournaments. If you have the opportunity to play in several sites, such as champion poker, because the challenge is the player who has more volume on champion poker, which is a pretty good side because the field is softer. There are good tournaments, and this is why I'm going to review a tournament in a Euro site where the field is pretty similar, and see how can develop strategies over there. So not only putting volume is going to be good because with more volume, less variance, with more volume, more data, and with more data, we can aim better of what are the points or where the players are losing EV and whatever. So in this first session, we're going to see how to navigate early stages, almost mid stages. I'll let you know when we are close to the bubble, to the money bubble, and how our ranges are going to be affected. So we're going to start right now with this hand history and see if we can end it probably for sure next session. So yeah, we're going to start opening here at 7 king suited. Also, one of the main mistakes I see on databases review is that players are under three betting and under opening. So yeah, having good raise first in and stuff like this is going to help a lot. So this is the first interesting hand. We're not just starting tournament with around 1.5 hour in the tournament. I just mark the VPIP hands just to avoid losing time on these auto fault hands. I also choose some faults which are interesting. So this is a pretty interesting hand where you can, hi Roman, if you have any doubts, you can chat on the YouTube chat and I will be aware of it. So yeah, this is a pretty interesting hand versus an Euro reg, um, where I decide to flat. This is also a player, talking about data. If I go to the hood, this is a player that tend to open a little bit more than it should, 22% from early position, which is kind of okay because players tend to under 3 bet and whatever. So this is a hand in play that I think that I can 3 bet it, but also I can call it versus this guy. I have history versus this guy. Not only that, that I have the data and I have the note that this player tends to 4 bet a little bit wider. And if I go to the data, if I go his 4 betting range is pretty high. Is 27 here. So it's a player that tend to 4 bet a lot. So I prefer to just call. I mark this hand and go from here. I mark this hand and then I use holding resources to see how to play it. Is this is the hand? I give him like a 20% opening range from this position, and this is my range. So the green is call. Ace jack is okay as a call. It also is good as a little bit of 3 bet. So I hope you're seeing there. Let's see if yeah. Okay, so yeah, this is the range, how the ranges look like. And I think calling ace jack O is pretty good. Try to keep his worst aces here on the range. So yeah, he bets, and again, this is a situation where I thought if is worthy just to call, especially with the spade and the jack, or just raise it. I raised this hand and thinking today I might be better just calling probably, but it's like what is the threshold value here, or what are the worst hand that I'm valuing and raising has value, and also what are going to be the main bluffs. So I think it's okay, right? And having, I don't know, like some queen jack, if I'm calling here with hearts as a bluff. Ace 10 is pretty good call. What else? Like queen 10, oh, with a spade, where I think it's not on the call. So I think we can call too. Is probably it's not a big mistake. Okay, this is again a tricky hand. Um, when I when I create my treated range, the main thing when I'm if I'm shoving or I'm three betting calling or I'm three betting folding is to divide the range in this is a good hand to three bet call, this is a good hand to three bet fold, or this is a good hand to call and develop a flop. From the beginning, I know this hand from my position, my stack. This is a hand that I have a lot of folds. And probably I'm just going to call. I mean, I'm just going to play three bet all-ins and three bet non all-ins. So the question here is: do I want this hand to go as a three bet call, or do I want to have this hand as a pure all-in? And the main driver of this is how I think this player is going to be playing versus the 3-bet. Because if I think this player is going to shove a lot versus my 3-bet, I use this hand as a 3-bet call. But I don't think this is the case. And I don't like to call. So in game, I think this is a good shove. I don't think that I have too many shoves here, but ace king O, ace king suited, ace king O, a lot of the times plays well as a shove. Also hands like jack tens that needs immediate protection. So I shove. We get the fold, and also again I reviewed this hand on holding resources, and this is the result. So ace king suited mixes, and Eskino also a little bit mixes, but it's mostly all in. So yeah, I like the shove. It's pretty interesting too. That king queen suited is all in, king jack suited is all in, and also like having these folds with sixes, sevens, eights, nines. Even nines is a pretty good fold because when we call here, it's pretty hard to play it post flop. A lot of the time we're going to play multi-way, and also with the nine, it's difficult to hit a nine. So it's better just to fold it. It's not natural displayed, but it makes sense. It makes sense when we think of how good of how well nines plays there. So yeah, here I think we have an easy shove, blind on blind. This player also is pretty aggro. He's playing 33% of the hands, raising 23% of the hands, three betting 15% of the hand. Even though it's a small sample, 179 hands, we can have a picture of how this player plays. Even though it's a pretty easy shove, I think it's pretty good to know this kind of player. And also here we can develop a non-all-in 3-bet. It will be tricky, but having like king XO with low kicker, for example, like king 6-0, king 7-0, probably is going to play pretty well. Some queen 5-0, when I say king 5-0 is offsuited, is going to play pretty well as bluff, and we can make it like 7 blinds. Yeah, we can get some full equity, especially when we think the player is pretty aggressive and is opening a lot. So the range here is going to be the shoving linear and 3-bet non-all-in polar. When I said like 3-bet non-all-in polar, it means as a non-all-in, we can have hands like kings, queens, even aces if we decide to 3-bet rather than calling. Ace king suited, 6, 7 blinds, and having hands like low hands, ace deuce so king 5-0, king 6-0, king 7, yeah, queen 7-0 as a 7 big blinds 3-bet bluff and fall versus all in. So this is also a play that a lot of players don't use, but is pretty powerful, especially when we're facing a player that we expect that is over opening and probably under defending versus 3-bet, and also is a play that is not players don't like to show to bluff with this kind of stacks yeah, so yeah, we can take it. 650. We're getting close to the money here, so now we're gravitating to the strategy of being on the money, especially with a short stack. On the third session of this session of classes, we're going to check out the theory of the bubble. So the bubble is pretty tricky, uh, especially when we are covered. We want to play pretty slow, and when we cover, we want to play like pretty aggressive. So yeah, probably this hand can be even be a fold here, especially in bubble. I think it probably plays better as a fold. We check. He bets two pairs with this stack to pot ratio. I think shoving is pretty good. I think calling is might be good. But yeah, I want to extract value from hands like ace five with the ace of diamond, ace six with the ace of diamond, stuff like this. Ace jack with the ace of diamond, the jack of diamond, and it's a pretty good situation to double up and have chips in this spot. So yeah, he was opening super wide, which makes sense, and we value the hand that we want to value. Obviously, variance there, but yeah, pretty good. Here we can shove anything, especially on the bubble. Even those even 7 do so, 7 3 0, 6 do so, probably we can shove everything here. So having an ace is pretty premium. Here, we don't want to shove here with this 28 stack size. If we shove, he's going to call us and we're going to be crushed. So yeah, just raise is going to work fine. Here again on the bubble, this is a hand that I decide to bluff. My thinking line with this, like when this guy has 4 blinds, uh, he's going to open pretty wide, and he's pretty aggro. And not only that, that he's folding a little bit more than he should versus 3-bet. So I think this is a combination where if he shove, if I 3-bet or he shove, or he shove, or he shove, I have a pretty easy call. If he shove, or he 4-bets, it's a pretty easy fold. And I might think that this is pretty limit, or yeah, this might be one of the few bluffs that we have. With ace jack probably, and ace queen probably, uh, kinda almost as a bluff. So yeah, I take the hand versus this guy. He calls, which is not that good news. I run this hand. Is this hand? So this is my range. Ace jack is pure fold. I mean, ace 10 is pure fold, so I should fold it. I take it by the reasons that I tell you before. Probably knowing this solution, and even though I know this solution, probably still I'm going to take it versus this profile. Um, and also what I like of this is that when I 3-bet, the 4-bet has to be super aggressive. So I think we're folding at probably he's going to shove ace 5, some ace 4, but I don't think he's showing from ace 9 suited to ace 2 suited in full frequency. Nor bluffing in some frequency 5s or 6s. I think he's probably just calling. So yeah, I like to throw it here, and probably his range is going to be even wider. So I think with our hand, after hand, we're going to get a little bit more fall equity, and exploiting a range that is opening a lot and calling a lot and folding a lot. Now that when he calls, I remember that in play, when I study this kind of situation, is like, okay, this is a kind of board where we can go small or we can go half pot Both sides are kind of okay. Um, I think this hand I went for the half pot. I think this was what I think in this situation was that it's going to be for me harder to defend versus half pot rather than a small bet. But I'm not sure about that right now. So to be pretty honest, probably also a check is going to be fine. Um, especially if we are close to the bubble. But also like having jacks, queens makes sense. Like betting the size where we don't want hands like ace 10 of clubs to call us, ace jack of clubs to call us. So these kind of hands, king queen of clubs to call us. So tens, jacks, stuff like this. Want to bet a little bit bigger in these situations. But yeah, I would like to run this hand probably post flop. I'm not going to run it right now because it's going to take time. But yeah, it's interesting to run this hand. What is pretty tricky is how I develop the calling range because it's going to depend a lot of on the player. I don't know. Probably he's going to have more calls of with aces, strapping might be. I don't know. So yeah, the frequency of how much he's defending is going to be based on how I create this range. So yeah, if I think he's overfolding versus Rivet, probably I just check back, take my equity, see one more card. But yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky. He mean raises, so looks super strong. This looks like nines, like sixes. I'm blocking flush draws. Uh, so yeah, I just fold. Nothing to do. Yeah, I still like the three bet. I'm not sure of the bet. Okay, pocket eights. I call here this guy. Now we're in the money. This guy was shoving a lot. On the like he was only playing like not not in trade, just like shoving. So again, we don't have these hands because, as I told you before, this is like BPIP hands that I play. I'm not marking any folding hands. So yeah, and also what I think is this guy has aces. No, this guy has kings, queens, jacks. Probably no. So I'm beaten by tens and nines, and probably the rest I'm flipping. So this is why I decided to call here, and we are in the money. Yeah, so I think this is a good chance to flip it and try to get a stack, or yeah, just reg another tournament or whatever. So yeah, he had ace 10 which is a pretty bad all in. It is more of a fold, as we saw the last hand, or even 3-bet fold. Which, if he 3-bets, I'm going to be pretty hard. This hand is pretty hard versus a 3-bet. Because if we 4-bet jam, we're not going to get called by sevens or sixes. So if we 4-bet jam, we're not going to get called by worse hands. So, but we protect our hand a lot versus bluff, so makes sense too. So it will be a pretty tricky hand if he 3-bets, and it depends how I'm thinking his guy's playing or whatever. But for sure, for him, small 3-bet is going to be the best play, especially with these blinds. Or just fold. Yeah. Okay, so now we have a stack. We're not close to the final table, but there's still a lot to play. So yeah, we're going to see it. Okay, this hand. Again, how I'm going to develop my range here is the main question. Not only if this is a hand that I would like to defend, this is pretty clear. I'm going to defend this hand. I'm not going to 3-bet this hand because, again, if I 3-bet and I get jam, it sucks. If I 3-bet and I fold, it sucks because I'm folding a lot of equity. So in this scenario versus the small blind, again, our range is going to look like polar. We want to have strong hands that can easily call versus the all-in. We want to call a lot of hands because we have the price, as we are on the big blind. Well, not the price, but a little bit a better price. And then we want to have the clear 3-bet fold hands. So in this scenario, the 3-bet fold hands are going to come from low aces, low kings, some queen x. So, for example, having here a king 6-0, ace do so, king 7-0, queen 7-0, queen 9-0, queen 8-0. We can make it here like 10 big blinds and fold. And then we can three bet call around ace jack suited, probably ace 10 suited, ace jack o, ace queen o, around that, the value thresholds. And same with the pockets, like we can go with nines, tens to three bet call. Probably, I think we have some. I didn't run this hand. I don't want to run it because I don't want to lose internet. Sometimes it gets a little bit laggy, but for the next session, probably I'm going to have this run and see how the big blind is creating the range. But one of the main things that I see, sorry, from databases reviews and all the data review that I do from standard backing and for my students is the lack of polar three bet from the big blind. And what I mean from that is like having those bluffs with ace XO, king XO, queen XO that are pretty relevant from the big blind. Yeah, so a lot of the times I see this hand as three bet, and what it happens is that we're going to fold a lot of better hands, which sucks because we can face versus worse aces or worse tens post flop and have a pretty good flop. Um, and we call hands like ace deuce so, ace three so that can fold better hands, or even king 5-0. Like king 5-0 can fold a lot of better hands, like king 9-0, for example, king 8-0, ace deuce, ace 3-0 that can are not going to defend versus red. So yeah, saying all this because this is pretty tricky spots and this is a high frequency spot. So we want to be uh, sharp on those blind on blind spots. Uh, and what I mean with sharp is knowing how to create the whole range. Obviously, take a study and seeing a lot of the situation, but just having the idea is going to work pretty well. So yeah, we call. He checks. We check. I think also we can bet with the ace of heart and the ten of spades. Probably I prefer to bet here. We have two overs. Yeah, I think check is going to work fine. He bets big ups, sorry. And I think we can call one here. The bad thing is that we are blocking bluffs with 10, like 10 6, 10 5s, 10 jacks, 10 queens. There are going to be bets, a little bit of polar bets. But yeah, I think still we can call one. I don't think it's too bad. The thing is that when he checks, it's also pretty tricky because he's a player that tends to bet in a high frequency. 200 hand, but still he's betting almost all hands. Probably this is the first hand he checks, and probably I had a 100% free bet from him. So when I'm facing a player that tend to bet a lot and checks, a lot of the time they are trapping or they have pot control. So I don't like to bet a lot versus these profile players because they're going to have a lot of automatic check call. So yeah, choosing the bluffs wisely is going to be better. But yeah, I don't like the fold. Saying all this to say that I don't like the fold here. Okay, this spot is pretty interesting again. This is a spot where, again, with this kind of blinds, when we cover, we can have a polar raise first in range, and we can have aces, kings, queens, jacks, tens as a small raise with this SPR, and we can have a lot of hands as all in. So what I do is I use all the middle string hands and probably mostly all suited and stuff like this as all in. And then I have, as I said, like ace king, queens, even ace king as a small raise, and then I can have like these trashy hands as the same line. So the idea again here is to try to fold better hands. If he has 10-4, It's pretty good because I'm folding better hands. If he has queen three, king three, or whatever, it's pretty good because I'm folding better hands. If he shove, is okay. Do I prefer like a seven deuce, eight deuce, even though four deuce as a small bet? Probably yeah, not with a 10, but I think it's okay. It's not going to be bad to have these options. The most important thing here is to know that we do have small races, 2.2 blind on blind versus 9, 8, 10 big blinds, and the nature of this range is going to be polar. It's pretty important that you know the, how do I say, the figures or these concepts, like what is polar range, what is merge range, what is linear range, and what is capped range. So knowing that, you can develop strategies of, okay, in this situation I'm going polar. On this situation is a polar three bet range, or this situation is a polar c bet whatever. On this situation, okay, this is a spot where I can shove a lot, and I have a polar raise first in raise. So yeah, linear is, for example, from the bottom where we are opening everything, like for example 40 big lines. Merge is, for example, when we have a little bit of everything. So, for example, thread from the small blind, that we have strong hands, we have mid-strong hands, and we have low string hands as bluffs. Capped means that we are just like focused, or we are just like pretty capped in one part of the range, like second pair, third pair, whatever. So when we pinpoint a player is capped in a range, our strategy tends to be polar too. That's a post flop concept. So it's around that, right? To have a awareness of how to play these situations. Okay, then Jack O is a clear defend. Um, this is a player who is playing in 23 hands, 42% of the hands, which is a lot of the hands, and he's three betting 22. Again, a lot, even though it's 27 hands in 6 out of 27, and he's post flop betting three out of three, betting one out of one. I mean, seems like a player that is like doing a lot of stuff. This just to say, right? Like, what kind of player are we facing? And having Jack 10 is pretty easy, right? With the 10 and the SPR. I mean, this is just all in. But just to talk about here a little bit of the type of player we're facing, how we're going to play versus this type of player. So yeah, this is, I mean, we can shove here, even though we can shove hands that have some backdoor equity or whatever. We think he's just raising too much and betting too much. So yeah. And we get there, and he had kings, which is, yeah, pretty unfortunate for him, pretty good for us. Yeah, but it's just a normal color. Okay. This is a tricky situation. Why is tricky? Because we're not too happy to play for 100 blinds with 10s versus this player, even though he's on the bottom, his range is pretty wide. But in value threshold, we're just on the limit. We're going to have bluffs here with ace XO, king X suited, some king XO on the higher part, king jack, king queen, so like this. And I think I didn't run this hand, but I think this hand we're going to have some shoves. But some like just a couple of shoves, not too much with 45. But yeah, it's not like pretty not natural if we have one. So yeah, I three bet. I was willing to call. He shoves. And the good thing is, as we are, it's pretty standard. As we are the small blind, we need to protect our hand a little bit more. So yeah. 6-5. Oh, one important thing in when you're playing is like having awareness of the type of player you're playing and how crazy you can go. So there are situations where we are with these stack sizes, 30 big blinds effective, we are on the bottom, and versus the right players, we can open pretty wide, right? But there are other profile of players that we have to be a little bit more aware of. So in this scenario, I'm facing a guy who is playing 30% of the hands and is rebetting 18% of the hands. 96 hands is not that much, but he's playing, I mean, 30 hands, 22%. So it doesn't look so well. And if we go to the small blind, it's three betting 14% of the time and played a little bit more on the tighter side overall, but it has a little bit high three bet. So yeah, I don't like to open here and just fold versus other player. Probably I'm going to do something different. Okay, if you have if you have any doubts, you can type it on the on the chat in YouTube, and I'm checking the chat. So yeah, hi everything that all the people that are around. Yeah, so yeah, any doubt, more than welcome. Okay, this is pretty easy. I mean, sucks, right? Because we have two overs and the backdoor, but we have the price, and yeah, we are hoping that this guy has like seven deuce of hearts or 7-3 of hearts and have some equity with the 10 and the jack. Yeah, we connect the jack, the 10, and he has 6-0, which I think is a clear fold from his side. But it remembers something which is important. When you guys are facing a player like with this stack, you can do the raise 2.7, 2.5, uh, 2.8 because we can make him not have the price to call us with 92. Because if we do like 2x with his stack sizes, he can call a lot. Not 92, right? Not 620, but we got the defending range by a bit, which is pretty good, and we don't let him realize his equity pretty cheap. So yeah, is something that we can do there. Jackino versus a limp, 11 bigs. First time he's limping. So I can raise and call, or I can just fold. So the thing is, how do I think this player is creating his range? When I see he's playing 35-7, I mean he's limping a lot and he's not raising too much. I think this hand is going to perform better as a raise, like 4.5, because this guy seems to have data, and with 926 hands, that he plays a lot of limps. But it's not something like he's trapping, like a lot of players tend to trap with limping. So sometimes sucks that when we have like nines here versus a player that tend to limp with aces or kings. So yeah, but I don't know, probably sometimes we can fold those hands or limp back or whatever. I don't know. But versus this kind of player, I folded. I think I folded, and I'm not that happy because that means that I was not aware of this data of this player, and now I was more aware of the general situation of a player limping from early position with this stack size correlating, to a pretty strong hand. So, um, when I see this data, just make it 4 big blinds. Call versus him and let him play his Jack 10 of diamonds, his 10-9 of hearts, 6-5 suited, or whatever we think he might have when he's playing at 35-7. So I don't like it. And let's see, he just folded immediately. So bad. That was bad, and the mistake was not awareness of the data. Why can that happen? A lot of tables, autopiloting, um, a lot of stuff like this. Everyone makes those mistakes, but yeah, it's a good reminder of if we're using a hood or if we have a read to to use that. So yeah, this is a pretty big mistake from my side because he is not that we have that I have 30 hands. I have 929 hands. So this was a mistake by my side that I have to be more aware and uh, uh, be more aware. Okay, he checks tricky because he's checking a flop that he should be betting mostly range. A lot of the times is going to be ace king, ace jack, hands like this. So I can make a small probe or I can check. Probably in play right now with the 7 and a low kicker. I prefer to check and bet sevens with a high kicker better. Or check all sevens. I think probably checking all sevens is going to be to work better here. Um, and play polar. Use hands like 4-6 is straight but big, 7-3, 5-7, Queen 7, Queen 3, Queen 5 as a big bets. And we have a lot of backdoors here, so like Ace 6, King 6, King 4, Ace 4, Jack 4. All these hands we can start betting big. 8-9, Ace deuce, Ace 4. Yeah, so I think developing here a polar is going to make more sense. A polar bet with the strong hands, two pairs and better queens, the straights, and bluff all the backdoors with the sixes, the fours with good kicker, um, and the 8-9s, for example. Yeah, I think it's going to make more sense to play it like this, and this hand pure check. So yeah, mistake. I would like to bet not only bigger, but a stronger hand, or a weaker hand. So yeah, because we're losing versus A7, we're losing versus King 7, we're losing with eights, nines, that are the hands that also want to check a lot. He raises, and what I think here in this situation is one, how normal is this situation? Not so normal. It should be a little bit of a high frequency spot, but in tournaments like 50 AB or lower, even it's hard to people have the line of checking on the flop and raising on the turn versus prove with bluffs. It's kind of complicated, especially also to have the hands for value to check on the flop. So I think this is a hand that is really heavily weighted to value, and that I'm getting punished also by mistake. So I prefer to just check call and try to hit a 7, try to hit a 9, and reconsider on the river. So yeah, I don't like it that bad. A couple of mistakes, whatever. It happens. I mean, if we play poker, we are going to face bad beats. We're going to face coolers. We're going to lose tournaments, and we're going to make a lot of mistakes. So is if those stuff happens, we try to not be tilted, right? Because there are the stuff that happens so often. They are so normal that like complain about a cooler, complain about a bad beat, or making a drama about a mistake is going to be pretty counterproductive to our mental state while playing. So yeah, it's something pretty important. So yeah, back to this. Now we're getting close to around not final table, but final three tables. We're advancing pretty good in this tournament. If we finish this tournament, we're going to check another tournament later positions. If not, we're going to check this one with care. But yeah, we'll see how we go. So yeah, this is a flop where now I'm covering. We don't really talk about too much about this concept called risk premium. And now we're going to start talking a little bit about it. We're going to talk more about the risk premium concept in depth in the third and the fourth session, but it's pretty important to start digging the concept. So in cash, for example, when we play cash, we're playing just for the money. So the strategy is play hand by hand. We use like past data and to thinking how to adjust versus different type of player, but the goal of the play of the game is to make the most money while playing cash right on the pot. In tournament we're playing for a prize pool. So when we're playing for a prize pool, we have this concept of risk premium or bubble factor, which is this concept of when we are making a call or when we are making a bet, we use this model. It's called Podot's equity model. We check how much equity we have, for example, how much equity we have versus this range. I will say that we have around 26% of the time. What does it mean? That around 26% of the time I'm going to be this guy and I'm going to have the better hand. 26, 30% because his range is pretty strong. A little bit more probably. And this is the odds that I have. So I want to have higher equity versus the odds. So I think I have a plus 6% EV call. Now, when we talk about risk premium, the risk premium is an extra equity that we need uh, when we want to make a call because we want to, for example, if we are facing on the bubble, we don't want to call too much because we have the product equities plus the risk premium. And the risk premium in a bubble is we call. If we won, we won the pot. But if we lose, we get eliminated pretty close to the money, which is pretty hard because we spend a lot of the time on the tournament. It kind of is time wasted and all this kind of stuff, right? So we're going to fall more and whatever. And this concept applies for any stage of the tournament, but on the bubble or when we are getting deeper in the tournament, the risk premium is going to be higher. And it's going to be higher when we have, like, for example, some distributions. For example, if we are in the final table, like four players, and there are two players with five blinds, and other ones with 40 blinds and 40 blinds, the risk premium between the guys of 40 blinds and 41 blinds are pretty high because they don't want to call all-ins and whatever. So it's like the same thing. And when we're playing tournaments, we want to play with that. So when we cover, uh, and the player can get eliminated, we want to gravitate to uh, aggressive strategies. Sorry. So we want to gravitate with aggressive strategies, and when we are covered, we want to gravitate to passive strategies. So in this scenario, this is a hand where, well, I'm going to dunk, even though I'm in a early stage of the tournament, but with the risk premium this player has, and late in the tournament, I will prefer to bet here. And not only bet here this hand, but this is one of the best hand to bet because we have backdoor and whatever. But probably betting range here. And not only these kind of boards. I mean, there are boards that this player, for example, is a board like 6-4-4. This player is not opening any four here. He only has ace four suited if he's opening ace five suited. So as he doesn't have much of fours, I can start dunking a lot too. When there are like 4-4 board, or when the board is 6-5-4 because he never have 7-8 and he never have 6-5 and he never have 6-4 nor 5-4 nor 3-2. So he doesn't have probably a7 or queen 7, king 7. So we can just bet here everything. Um, and in boards that hit better to him, yeah, we can have a little bit more. I mean, more careful. But yeah, this is a pretty good board, and we're betting range. Yeah, this is one of the best hand to bet. Okay, ace 9-0. This is one of the hands, my favorite, one of the, not favorite, but one of the best hand to bluff here in situation. Ace 9, Ace 8, Ace 7, no, even though he can also get to the call, but I think this hand is pretty good to bluff. Fold versus all in. I don't think he's folding, showing as much as he should, and he's probably open a lot from the bottom. So yeah, this is a pretty standard play. 8-9-0. And now I'm facing a player that 2014 is tight. And I have a player that is a little bit more crazy, but falls too much to the civet and a little bit to the racing. So in this scenario, I think I can go a little bit wider from the bottom, different from the other situation where with 6-5. And if I'm facing, for example, like this player, even though he's with 9 big blinds, if this player is on the big blind with his data, I'm going to open way too much because the player is on the tighter side. Same this guy, like 70%, the 3-bet, 64 versus still folding. So if this player is on the big blind, I'm opening a lot, a lot. This is a situation where it's kind of mixed, pretty tight and kind of loose, but covering. So yeah, I'm going to open here. He shoves, we fold, all good. It's Queen O. Versus the small blind. Yes, this is a pretty good flop because we're opening on early positions, so we can bet. Still, we have some checks, right? Because the small blind is not calling. When we play versus the small blind, it's not like, oh, this is the board that I'm playing versus the big blind. I'm playing range. We have to be a little bit more careful. The good thing with this board is that the small blind never has jacks, never has queens, never has the jack twos nor queen deuce. So he doesn't have all these two pairs. So it's a pretty high frequency bet. And we have queens, we have jacks, we have aces, king, queens, whatever. So yeah, this is one of the boards that we can bet a lot as the aggressor versus the small blind. But it's not the case in a lot of spots. So yeah, we bet small, he calls. The jack comes and probably is the worst card for me. Because he's going to raise some queens. Uh, the only hands that is going to call and we're beating is like pocket pairs and some ace high, which I'm beating quite comfortably. So it doesn't make sense to bet. I'm blocking the queen. So I prefer to bet here aces, kings, rather than ace queens, because with aces and kings, I'm unblocking the queen, which is the hand that I'm aiming to attack. But in this situation, I think it's just better to check. In GTO, I don't know. In GTO probably be mixed. I'm not sure, but it's not going to be a big mistakes. And then the four comes. He bet quite big, and normally I tend to fold versus a big bet when the players has this stack in this particular situation because it's hard to get some bluff. Versus this guy is kind of particular. This is a guy that is 30. He's calling a lot. He's not racing too much, but he's three betting a lot. And versus Cbet, he's calling. He's betting. He's folding. Sorry, he's not folding too much. So I think this player can start not only valuing worst king queen 10, king queen, for example, but I might think this guy is going to have like a9 in 10, 10-9 as bluffs. So I think this profile is capable. So probably is going to call. And versus this profile, for example, 28, well, 28-18 is kind of just like 19-14. This is a profile that I might get a fold with one of the best hands, but it's pretty hard too, right? So it depends. The main thing is, or what I'm asking here is, do I bet? Do I beat value from here? And I think like king queen, king queen 10, even though queen 9, he might be valuing. And the other question is, this player is capable of bluffing, and the players that tend to call a lot on the flop tend to bluff a lot on the river because a lot of the strategy is okay. I call a lot on the bluff. When they check back, I'm going to take the hand because when they check back, they don't have value. So it's around that. Okay, so I'm calling and he has the ace jack, which is probably mixed between 3-bet and call, so pretty good. And yeah, I lose stack. 7-9-0, same stack. I think I can bet here with the spade and the backdoor. And I'm betting, and again, I'm valuing probably getting the fold versus shove because it's a situation where he's not going to have any bluffs. And yeah, a lot of full house around that, but yeah, all good. Pretty easy with kings here. Again, this is a situation where I can have a polar range. 10-9-0 is not going to be polar, right? It's going to be call. And this is pretty easy fold. Aces. Pretty easy, right? He raise, he three bet, we call. Yeah. King. So yeah, this is the situation we need to get a stack. I don't like this fold. I understand this fold, but versus this player who's betting, who's raising, well, 16%, he's not so aggressive. He's betting a lot. I think that I don't like to fold a pair. I know the few situations where we are where we are folding a pair from the big blind is third pair versus a lot of the time versus UTG. So this is what I thought. So yeah, probably. I mean, whatever. Yeah, probably he's not opening 8 or 7s, so I think it's better just to fold there. He has like the not to not ratio is so much on his side, and we're facing so much trouble on the turn that yeah, I think we can fold. So yeah, now we have a stack. Still, we're not on the close to the final table, but we are on the way. So yeah. Okay, this is a tricky situation. If I am covered, I'm going to check this flop in high frequency because I'm never opening a 4 here. And he's having a lot of 4s. Probably the weakest 4 that the only 4 that I'm opening, sorry, is ace 4 and poker 4s. But yeah, so when we have a situation when we are with ICM and we're facing the big blind and the paired board and the hand that is paired uh, is way more on the side of the aggressor of the defender of the big blind, we can check a lot. So this is a situation where there's a lot of situation. I mean, there's a lot of dynamics that can happen. So yeah, I think even he can start dunking here because I can check a lot. But when I'm covering, I'm going to the small bet, and also I think the small bet versus this bet he has to defend some no natural hands like 7-9, 7-8 that I think I'm going to get overfolded. So yeah, so that's why I bet. This is a pretty good hand for him. It's a pretty bad card for me. Now he has the straights, obviously well, not the set, but the three of a kind. So yeah, I just folded. I don't have anything, and yeah, this is a cool bet because I'm going to check in a super high frequency this spot. Even aces, I'm checking here. So it's a pretty cool bet here to be betting here after they call. We don't have anything. 8-7-0. We're raising a little bit more blockers, right? This is a hand that I think I can open. 6 king suited. I think plays pretty well. Let's raise. This is a hand that I think is pure fault. Again, this situation, the foreplay is pretty bad. And I see a lot of players calling here. And this is going to be like burning money on fire because we're not going to get enough force and we are going to face a 3-bet or an all-in in a important frequency, right? So yeah, just fold is going to be fine. Ace 10 suited. Um, this is a hand that I don't want to 3-bet call nor 3-bet fold. So I think in this situation, I prefer to 3-bet like a slow I'm sorry, small aces, ace deuce, ace three, ace four, even though hands like king six, king seven, king eight suited, and call this hand, right? I'm going from there, and we can close with this hand, and then going from here next session. So this is a hand that I called, right? That I was not sure of. But what I thought of this is okay, how I'm going to create the range of this player in this situation and how well my hand plays. So what I did was start adding or start thinking of hands that I'm beating, that he might be shoving, and or that I have good equity. So I thought of King Queen, King Jack suited, the small price I got a good equity. And the thing is how much Ace suited low he's shoving here. So this is again pretty close. I decided to call. I think that I have like enough equity versus the hand that I'm facing. Yeah, so yeah, I call. And he had ace king. So yeah, we have a pretty good situation. Sorry. So for next session, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this hand. I'm going to run this hand and I'm going to run more hands with the high risk premium of FT and close to the FT to see a lot of to see stuff, right? To see how the ranges are constructed and whatever. And next session, the third session, we're going to see the theory of bubble money and the theory of risk premium and all this stuff. So I think it's going to work pretty well like this. Yeah, and run some stuff. I like to use Hold'em resources because in Hold'em resources I can see exactly a tournament and I can edit the ranges so to have better perform. So yeah, this is why a lot of the stuff I run in here on Hold'em resources. So yeah, I'm going to run this stuff. I'm going to run a little bit more stuff, and I let you know uh, how to go from there. All right. So yeah, hope you guys like the session. If anything doubt comes or anything comes, just let me know. And yeah, see you around. And yeah, good luck on the tables.